Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with STORMYBMAN for this Friday, September 3rd, 2021, and this is episode 123. We're calling it the ABCs and PED'S of boxing. Yeah, get a little creative with those titles sometimes. Want to say salute to the LDBC, everyone out there in the boxing community that likes to tune in for the Friday night chop session. And this evening, we've got a good show planned for you, and we will get down to business just a moment. I'm taking a moment just to take a deep breath and sigh because it's been a long week for STORMYBMAN, and with everything that I've been planning and the things that I've been putting together to get these shows going, it's a welcome toward this weekend, man. It's like I can't wait to get my weekend started. We got some fights on the horizon. Tomorrow afternoon is going to be an early day of fights, and we'll get the chance to talk about those. And we'll also bring in the STORMYBMAN's Thunderous Top 10 for an update. Haven't had that in a little bit, but there have been a lot of fight cancellations, which is a part of the reason why. So, with that being said, you just know that even though that there haven't been matches to come along and make some differences, we have had some news that will make a difference in the ratings. And that's something that we'll pay close attention to going forward. I mean, with the whole situation of what we've been dealing with globally, as well as what we've been dealing with as far as the business of the sport. I don't like to talk the business of the sport, but sometimes it just cannot be avoided. So I tread lightly on the perimeter of that while I let others really dive in and, sink their teeth into that information. But it's serious when Stormy has to cover it as well, because it's affecting the sport in the most negative of ways. And that's why we do what we do, because we stay and remain true to the sport. Salute to everybody out there. Smash the like button as you come in. As we get ready, there's so many things that's running through my mind. We'll be joined later by Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and the brother will have a lot to say this evening on a lot of the subject that we're going to cover. So I won't exclude Reggie from that process, because some of the things that he has to say, he's already dropped some videos. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check out Reggie's videos that he's dropped today, and he's dropped several, you need to go over to his channel and check the brother out, because he's like on the scene reporting. You know what I mean? It's like when he's got some information to release, he does it, and he does it in his own fashion. And I respect that, because sometimes when you are sincere with your presentation, you can reach people a lot easier than when you try to hold a certain type of discipline. Sometimes you just have to let your emotions show through. You have to allow people to see who you are as you present the information. So that's one of the things that I like about Reggie, and he does that very well. I know we've got people filing in, and we'll get with you in just a moment for the roll call. I see we've had one idiot come in here, and before Stormy could even get talking, he decided to put a thumbs down. So, but we know who that is, and That's why that name fits, idiot. You understand? Because as Big Homie Coop has been known to say, class is in session, so pay attention. So to the idiot, that thumb down, F+, get to the back of the room. That's right. And as we get ready to go on in here, we've got Ratchet since 1991. Out there says, salute Stormy in chat. Big Homie Coop again says, backsmack that like button. That's right, brother. And he says, great title for the show this evening. Thank you for that. Curtis Price is out there, says, Stormy B-Man, that theme is cold. Yeah, man. I like that one myself, you know. First time I heard it, I was like, you know what? This is it. Because I had been searching. I had changed the Friday night chop session theme several times since I started doing the show. And this has been the one by far that has fit basically what I was looking for. So yeah, that's the Friday night chop session theme there, man, and we're happy to have it, you know. Watcher, my man, is out there, says salute. And Kano Loco Sports is out there as well. Salute to you, Kano Loco. Good to see you. He says salute. And the Jab Jamboree, Ack Reacher, is out there. Says Stormy B-Man, salute. Salute to you as well, brother. Yeah. Want to put out a quick reminder for you guys because I know that you can't wait to hear it. But, you know, we do this every week when we come in with the Friday night chop session. Stormy B-Man reminds you that there is a link in the description box for Stormy B-Man's merchandise. And I'm telling you, you know what? There have been some people making purchases, man, and I'm very proud to say that the people who have been investing have been pleased with their products. So with that clickable link down there, take you right over to the Streamlabs Stormy B-Man merchandise store, also a donation page. And you can get yourself an assortment of goodies from there. And we lead off with merchandise such as the Stormy B-Man coffee mugs, man. Those are pretty nice. If you get your morning Java, you know what I mean? People like their mochas and lattes. This mug will remind you that class is always in session early as you rise. Get you one of those coffee mugs. They're pretty nice, man. Okay. And then we also have the snap caps, the Stormy B-Man baseball caps out there. Get you one of these for those of you who like baseball caps. And these are very nice, man. I have one. I like it. The stitching on it is nice, very colorful, and represents the Stormy B-Man logo designed by myself. And they are in multiple colors that will match attire, because sometimes the brothers like to make sure that their caps match what they're wearing and their shoes and all of that. And I'll tell you, we've got some good ones here. I made some changes with that, and you can reach on in there and get yourself something really nice, man. Just check it out. You know, go on over there. You can click on, there's a little button there that'll change the look and appearance of the color there and let you know what's being offered. We also have the Stormy B-Man backpacks made by Champion. Okay, Champion is a designer label that's been around for quite a while. I remember Champion products since I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? So now you got Stormy B-Man merchandise under that label, and it's a respectable quality design and has the Stormy B-Man logo on there. This comes in 2 colors. And you can get you one of those for those who are on the go. You're going to the gym, get your workout on, Ack Reacher. You know what I mean? You can throw your mouthpiece in there, your jump rope, you know what I mean? Your hand wraps, you know what I'm saying? And be on the go with your backpack there. And we also have the Stormy B-Man windbreaker. This comes in 3 colors. Okay, and you see the display, that's a nice black there, but we have a gold, which I have the gold one. I like that one, and I don't like to wear bright colors a lot, but I'll tell you something. I like the way that one looks on me, and it comes in a nice kind of like a silverish gray. Very nice. These also serve as windbreakers and rain jackets. And the zippable pocket that goes across, it allows you to fold it up, put it inside, and you're on the go just like you're carrying your umbrella. And there is a hood for that item. So then we also have the STORMYBMAN hoodies, which you guys have seen me wear numerous times on the shows here, and they now come in several colors. We got some lighter colors in there too, to make sure that for those who just don't want to wear black, hey, we can accommodate. And these are very nice too, in sizes that go up to 3X. You know what I mean? For you bigger brothers out there, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Excuse me. And they're very nice. And the material is nice as well. And then lastly, we've got the STORMYBMAN tees, which are just like the hoodies in colors. So it's like if you just want to, you know, sport around in a nice t-shirt, we've got them for you. So don't hesitate. I would recommend if you buy, get you a couple at a time, couple different colors. That'll allow you that chance to be able to wear something different and match it up with some different portions of your wardrobe and whatnot. And they kind of spiffy, man. I'm telling you, I love them. And it's kind of funny. Yeah, go out in the street and you see somebody, they see your shirt and they say, "Hey, STORMYBMAN, that's the dude from YouTube, right?" Yeah. Yes, sir. You know. So, but yeah, those are the items from the merchandise. And listen, they are on the move. People are purchasing. So don't get left out, man. I may discontinue some items, but the thing about it is, if I do that, it is only because I'll have some new ones to replace those. So I might keep one or two as traditional, but we're going to go in a different direction with some different designs before the end of the year, or maybe by the first of next year. So that's in the plans and in the cards. We had someone else pop in the chat there. We got Thrill Hill out there. He says, "Salute Stormy B and chat. Salute to you." Bruce Gold's channel member is out there, says salute. And MPWTF is out there, says salute Sensei and chat family. Salute to you all. Glad to see you all stopping in this evening, man. But this evening's subject, man, it's all in the title. The ABCs and PEDs of boxing. Okay. It wasn't hard coming up with that title. And my man Big Homie Coop says that's a great one. You know something? But it's nothing really to smile about, because with the news that has come down this week out of the Eddie Reynoso camp, where we see that, you know, Oscar Valdez has tested positive for a banned substance, although he's come up with his reasons and what he's blaming it on and this and that. There was an A sample that was tested and he didn't make it. But what was it really interesting was the B sample was equally as disappointing, huh? So he, along with several others, I mean, we can go back, you know, Dillian White, Ms. Gimenez that fought Franchon Cruz Discern. I mean, we're seeing these people cheat in the sport. We've seen Tyson Fury. We've seen Canelo Alvarez. Names in the sport who have turned up dirty, okay? And then the excuses that they give question your intelligence. I mean, first of all, when you look at people who are slight in stature, And you can tell that they're putting something in their bodies, because with exercise and proper diet, you can get a certain appearance. And that's it. Your body will max out at that. But it's only when you're doing some things that we now have in the sport of boxing and in professional sports as a whole that can be banned substances. It is those banned substances that can provide you with a greater edge, whether it's the greater edge of wind and conditioning, the greater edge in strength and size, the greater edge in being lean and mass, sometimes a speed enhancement. All of these work toward making you something that you were not. Okay? And in the sport of boxing, where you're physically trying to take down the other person with your fists to their body, whether it's their head and the entire between the shoulder and the hip, where you can punch legally, I mean, those enhancements can make a tremendous difference in a fight. And we've seen time and time again, even in bouts where PEDs, we'll use that term for lack of just going into other derogatory names and statements, but we'll just use PEDs for tonight. Fighters not using that, we've still seen people get hurt and be hospitalized and have to end their careers. And some have ended their lives. This is all serious stuff, people. And regardless of who you like in the sport, regardless of the person that you support and where they come from, this is no longer about national pride and racial divide. This is about the sanctity of the sport, the upkeeping, the safekeeping and safe haven of the sport. In a sport where the intent is to do damage to the other person to begin with. So you mean to tell me that because someone feels inferior, that they just aren't up to snuff, so to speak, that they figure that it's okay to dabble in PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, to make themselves more competitive, to be able to match what? Someone who's superior, someone who's naturally and genetically superior? Or is it just to be able to thrive and survive? Maybe the sport isn't for you. Maybe you need to get a real job, huh? But going in there cheating, I'll say that one more time. Going in there cheating it's illegal, people. And we have commissions and sanctioning bodies that seemingly turn the law regarding cheating on its end when you're talking about dealing with certain individuals. Because you see, some of these sanctioning bodies are based in countries where their fellow man who participate in the sport and woman who participate in the sport will get provision because of national pride. And in taking that type of action comes the racial divide. if you think I'm lying to you, has anyone checked to see where Jarrell Big Baby Miller is right now and when is his next fight scheduled? Because as far as I'm concerned, he was caught popping dirty with PED'S in his system as well. But being from New York, being a brother, seemed like there was a different set of punishment type rules for him because he's been off the scene ever since he popped dirty. But we get news this week for a fight that's coming up in days. We get news that Oscar Valdez tested positive. A champion. This man has a belt. And salute to, we got some more faces that have popped in the chat. Let me take a moment to welcome. We've got Silvestro out there. He says, Stormy, salute. Big Faces Worldwide is out there, says, the inconsistency is what trips me out. Divine Milk, salute to you. Facts, he says. Crush the Legend is out there. And my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is out there as well. Brother BFTB Boxing is out there, says, facts. L-Dub is out there, says, what's good? Rashid Rourke is out there, says, peace. My brother, the Wiseman at STORMYBMAN. Ronald Haskins is also co-signing, saying facts. And L-Dub says, Big Baby in Florida in camp with Kalnaki for the hilarious rematch on Wilder's pay-per-view. That's good news, L-Dub. I tell you, that dude, L-Dub, man, he be having the scoop. Salute to Lawrence, man. That brother, he be on it, man. Salute. Ronald Haskins says, come on. You being racist is what they going to say. Rashid Roy says, go ahead, my brother STORMYBMAN. Make it plain. You know I will. In my way. Right? But Valdez people tested positive this week. You know, they have the VADA testing and, you know, these guys, they know what's coming down the pipe. They know. But what was it? Phentamine, he tests positive for, which is supposed to be a stimulant, something that will help with flushing your system. Again, when you're taking these banned substances, it's usually because you want some type of an edge. That's true, BFTB. I believe you on that, brother. So knowing that the test would be on the horizon, this man, champion, still pop. And then the excuse. This is the thing. The excuse of it being in some type of substance he drinks, let's call it a tea, huh? Now, Stormy happens to be a connoisseur of teas, okay? You know, just like, you know, I like the Kung Fu films. I like Asian cuisine. So I'm quite adept and abreast on teas. Who you think you fooling, man? In order to get the result of what this particular banned substance does to your body, In order to get that result, T is not where you're looking to go. So you're telling me your excuse is a T. Not because you didn't want to drink coffee. Okay. But that's not an excuse. You cannot be excused when there are substances that are banned, my brother. What we would like to know, what is your reasoning? What is your reasoning behind taking this particular banned substance? The reason that you were taking this and it was found in your system is what? See, that's the thing right there, people. We're living in a society now that makes excuses for everything and try to sweep facts under the rug. That's unacceptable. There are physicians out here that will tell you you cannot buy something over the counter with that particular banned substance in it. That has to be prescribed to you. Or if you're doing the designer thing with illegal substances, someone has to make it for you. And you can put it in something and mix it in with something else. But that's not something that I'm going to go to Costco or Sam's Club and load up on a case of tea that has that substance in it. No. No. Natural diuretics like green tea, which will give you the its, the runs, even taking that to an excess degree will play bad tricks with your body. So this was calculated. And just before I went live, and salute to the brother Reggie Owens, because he put a video up just before I went live, maybe about 15 minutes before I hit the air, and I got a chance to watch it. And he'll talk about it when he comes on. Valdez is out there giving his excuse. Nah. I don't want your excuse, Oscar Valdez. I want your reason. Because when you take this particular banned substance, which has to be prescribed, again, as I said, what were you looking to accomplish? Were you happening to be using it as a masking agent for something else? Interesting. How often do you see a man in boxing go up in weight and knock the champion out at the higher weight? I'll let you meditate on that for a moment. If you're talking about guys who do their thing in the sport of boxing, like Monster Inoue, we know that guy can crack, right? But Valdez was never really cracking. I mean, he may have got some stoppages and everything. But what he did against Miguel Burchelt, hey man, what he did against Burchelt, no one had done that. Burchelt was doing that to other people. But did you notice how spry Valdez was, even in moving up in weight, which in those weight classes is just a few pounds? In fact, I believe the talk was Burchelt had rehydrated up maybe a little bit more than he needed to or whatever. I think he was eating in the dressing room when the fight was being broadcast. Being broadcast that night. He was snacking on something in the dressing room, if I recall correctly. But the spryness that was showed by Valdez was interesting. Big fight, big time champion that he's facing. No anxiety, no loss of conditioning on that, because sometimes a big event can get to a guy. So maybe he was up for it. But the power, that which he was not doing to the guys just below. Huh? I told you I would let you think about that for a moment. What he was doing to the guys just at the weight class below. When he was hitting Burchelt, he was shaking him up. Now, I'm not accusing him of anything. But that WBC, what a tangled web of deceit and trickery that sanctioning body serves up. It's a dish that is sour to the taste buds. BFTB says, I want his belt. I want his suspension. At the very least. These folk are criminals. They're criminals. You cannot tell me that right now Mr. Burchelt isn't looking at his loss a little bit different. You can't tell me that. Fighters know, man. They have an idea. But all it takes is for something to come to pass to fill the gaps of information, where you can wonder something about someone, but you don't have evidence or you don't have proof. Then you see a certain type of reaction. And all you need is something that links the information. This week, the other shoe dropped on Oscar Valdez. And what is the common factor here? Eddie Reynoso, his gym. Huh? I got something I'll show you here on the screen on my little Jumbotron here. When you see this man hitting Burchelt, do you see what's happening with Burchelt? How he's being shaken? Burchelt had a solid chin. All of a sudden, this young upstart comes up there and he's whacking him like he's Monster Inoue, basically. Now, I'm not trying to imply that amphetamine is the result of what you're seeing on the screen here. But what I am saying without question is if you've got something in your system that you're not supposed to have in there, amphetamine is the perfect masking agent, because it helps, it's a stimulant, helps get the other stuff out of your system. Okay? Now, check this out. Though it's a banned substance, they're saying regionally, the people from that area where they're going to fight and everything, they're saying it's okay. It's not like he was using nandrolone or something, right? There is something in bodybuilding and those who work out using various products to help them with their workouts, and even those who use PEDs. There's something called stacking. Stacking. Because there are a variety of substances that you can use, and each one has its particular thing that it will enhance or assist you through your process. But when you have a substance that flushes the system, then we don't know what you're running on, huh? We have no idea. That's why we have to look at you physically. Do you guys remember when Canelo Alvarez faced Sergey Kovalev? The day of the weigh-in saw Kovalev come in underweight. And I do believe that there was some kind of provisions on his contract, a rehydration clause. He couldn't go up a certain amount. But if you saw Canelo get on the scales on the day of the weigh-in, he looked absolutely nothing like he looked the day of the weigh-in, the night of the fight. The man looked like Dwight Muhammad Cowie. Short, stocky, wide as a brick wall. How did that happen? That wasn't the same guy that got on the scale, that weighed in at the light heavyweight limit that they were obligated to weigh in at contractually. See, these are people who play with the scales. They play with substances that you put in your body. Because carbs are important with professional athletes. You can eat a small serving of potatoes or rice or pasta, and it'll blow you up like a balloon. There's your answer, people. Because if you've got PED'S that your body has been running on, you've been training, you've been doing things with these PED'S in your system, and you have a moment where you cycle off, because that's that other term, cycling off. It will still have an effect on your body. So come that day that you get on those scales, you may weigh in at that weight that you've cut to make. But on fight night, you blow up. Anybody remember just recently when we saw Guillermo Rigondeaux taking on John Riel? Huh? Think about it. Riel looked like he was 4 weight classes bigger than Rigondeaux. And the announcers never mentioned it during their broadcast. Rigondeaux gained like 4.5 pounds after the weigh-in. This dude had to gain 25 minimum. That's criminal. So when you saw Canelo on fight night against Kovalev, he looked bigger than Kovalev. Why? Because those carbs, those starches that he was able to get back in his body, he probably ate a plate of pasta or something like that. Or sometimes, ethnic wise, they like rice or something. He probably ate something like that and it blew him up, blew him right up. So now, not only does he have the girth, he now has some strength. Because, they can test you and you might not necessarily test positive for a particular substance that's banned. But it's already doing the work for you still. Ask Victor Conti. He was a specialist. A lot of people don't realize these things. They just watch the matches and they watch their favorite guy and they look at him and they say, yo, kick his butt and this and that. You have no idea what these men are going through behind the scenes. Which is why when someone comes up hurt, in distress and has to be hospitalized, or even worse, cheaters don't deserve the opportunity to go in there with those type of advantages. I want to say salute to my brother. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He's here with me now this evening. And we will talk even more on this now that Reggie has joined. What's going on with you, Reggie? How you doing?
Doing good. What's happening, OG?
Hey, man. Listen, first of all, let me just, I was doing a little advertising for you out there with some of your content that you put up just today alone. I've watched everything, and I'm saying, like, man, Reggie is on it, bro. I caught the little part with Valdez just before I went live that you uploaded. What a joke this guy is. But let's dial it back for one moment, Reggie, because there is something else that I wanted to speak on and give you a chance to come in on this. let me see. I got a couple ways I want to do this. And like I said, by the way, you did a great job, man, with some of the coverage that you put out today. I had a chance to catch a lot of what you had to offer there. But I wanted us to acknowledge this beautiful young lady that lost her life, Jeanette Zacharias Zapata. She was only 18 years old, and she's a victim of the sport of boxing. Now, I'm not saying PED'S had anything to do with her losing her life, but the criminality of boxing is at fault here, because this was someone who was participating in the sport, trying to make a living for herself and her family, and the sport chewed her up and spit her out like it's done so many others. But Reggie did a video on the young lady, and I hope that it's okay, Reggie, with your permission, that I play that clip of that video that you did. Is that okay?
Oh, or yeah, I'm never tripping. Yes.
No, I still will ask. You know what I mean? That's respect.
For sure.
But
For sure.
I captured it, and I was like, when you came on the show, I was going to ask if it were okay to share this, and it's just amazing. But I will play it right now. Let's see what we can do here for our listeners out there. Let's see. Let's see here.
All right, what's up, my people, man? Let's get this female fighter named Jeanette Zacharias Zapata, who is fighting for her life after this fight on August 28th out there in Montreal, to where she suffers a devastating knockout. And you're going to watch her go limp. You see the referee, her team stepping in there, her barely able to stand. As she's starting to slowly lose consciousness, you begin to see her go into convulsions as she lays through that rope, her arm uncontrollably shaking, like in a swinging motion, as you can see there. And that's her body going into shock, and then her collapsing, just passing out. The other thing that bugs me, is I always bring up when watching these fights, seeing knockouts, is the fact that there is never oxygen brought inside the ring. Sometimes there's not even medical staff, emergency personnel to evacuate these fighters. But also going in here to this woman's experience. She's a young woman. I believe she's 18. She's was 2-3 going in this fight, suffering 2 knockouts already. But look at her box rec. As you can see, she started her career in 2018 after loss, going on hiatus. She was knocked out in her fight before this 3 months ago. This woman being knocked out 3 months ago is already put back into the ring to build up this Canadian woman's career, Maria Pierre Raoul, however you pronounce her name, to pad up her record by bringing soft and easy opposition.
Yeah, I'm playing the video.
This sport of boxing can sometimes not give 2 shits about these fighters. They get some fighters who are trying to build up, and it's nothing against Maria.
The audio is playing through the.
But when you're dealing with the promotional side of things, they look for fighters to just throw in there to build up the records, pad the stats upon their fighters. And ultimately, it's probably going to cost this young woman her life, as she's been induced in a coma, still in this critical state. Who knows? I already seen a GoFundMe for her, but that's all I got. Peace.
Yeah, it's video just finished. It's playing through. You'll hear it on the playback, Reggie. But your video was current when you made it, but of course she has since lost her life, and she was brought in an induced coma, but she had trauma that afflicted her, not unlike Gerald McClellan, ringside when the fight was stopped, and that whole thing when her body started going into convulsions and her arm was swinging around and things like that. She was having probably a brain bleed immediately. And one of these things that you and I talk about, I mean, and I wrote it in your comment section. I was like, how many times have we talked about this? And you said, you responded, too many. I said, they don't even have the most simplistic form of treatment, Reggie, with having oxygen available. When will these people freaking learn, bro? It's like, to see that right there, that would have probably, and there's no guarantee because when it's your time, it's your time. But not having oxygen to administer, I mean, how many times have we talked about this? And all they did was lay her down, and they're all standing over her, doing nothing, by the way, doing nothing, but just standing over her, looking at her. If that was my child, I would go in there and have at each and every one of those imbeciles that stood over that young lady. And I'd go right after the promoter of the event and those who are in charge of the venue, because where were paramedics? Where was a stretcher? Where was someone who, this is the hurt business, right? Someone will need medical attention at the end of the night, even if it's just to stitch a cut. Go ahead, Reggie. You're just coming in. I'll allow you to speak your piece.
Right, man. I mean, everything we see in this sport with the lapse, it's a huge lapse in providing urgent medical attention. Like, these dudes know that this is an event to where people aren't just looking at each other. They're throwing high velocity punches at each other's heads, at each other's bodies. So anytime someone's going out or submitting or lights being knocked out, that should call for some urgency to be shown, like you see in the UK. You see in the UK fights all the time where there's an urgent response to any level of trauma that a fighter is going through, regardless if they're knocked out or not. There is some attentive care being provided to them. In this country, because you got so many people over here that are only in this country for the buck, and when you're dealing with these capitalistic minded type people, the tightwads who really don't like to distribute our money.
Right. What's up, my people, man?
They're looking to pinch pennies anywhere they can to cut away expenses while they,
after this fight,
RAPE the game.
Where she suffers
why they do that, bend the game over backwards and take from it. Medical attention is an expense that these cats do not want to pay out. And they know dang well that most of these fights, when people are looking for something, they're looking for a knockout. So if that's one of the high probabilities that goes into these things, why ain't medical attention there? Why ain't oxygen being provided? You have so many people with brain leaks on their heads, and they continuously take these risks. And that's because there's no set of structure within this game. These fighters need to speak about it. And also with where you see where there's commissions everywhere, there's this insurance of safety, is because the one thing that has always been known about the sport of boxing, and it's one of the things that Jeanette becomes a victim of, is this tends to be a sport championed by people who come from poverty, poor people, those who are at the lowest stretches of society, who aren't provided any sorts of resources. And even when they get in this game, they ain't provided these resources. But you got a lot of people who sitting here and bank off of them. They ain't nothing but commodities that they just push around and trade off of. And these fighters need to start waking up from that and stop being treated like commodities by a bunch of punks in suits. That has to stop. And I don't see how many fans can sit there. I know people want to think when they're watching a fight, they're in the Roman Empire, and if they die, they die. That is just all good for Rocky. But in reality of thing, ain't nothing cool about that. You get what was done, help these individuals out. This is all entertainment, it's all competitive sport. But at the end of the day, the folks who compete in it, they want to make sure that the opponent they stand next to on the other side of the ring walk out of it safely. Because regardless, even for a person who may have intentions of killing someone, death doesn't even sit well upon them. It's all good to talk it, but to kill an individual, that's a hard thing to swallow. And these clowns, to not provide medical attention, paramedics not to be on standby near the ring, not all the way towards the back of a stadium, sitting in the ambulance, they should be ringside, ready to respond, to quickly get in there in case someone really has to be evacuated. And we've been seeing significant injuries. The WBC takes care of a guy, Cologne. They take care of Adonis Stevenson. They take care of the cat out of New York. Matter of fact, he's taken care of because of a big lawsuit, who's a vegetable now because of lack of care. Hell, Zab Judah, dang near became a vegetable because of the lack of care and the fact that a steroid cheat was inside the ring with him.
Yeah,
I mean, and then to deal with this young lady, I don't know if she's the first girl to die, but an 18-year-old girl who gets into the sport looking to make money coming out of a country which doesn't provide much opportunity for, especially for women down there, let alone for the guys, that she goes into this sport only to be used as a dang stepping stool for someone that they're trying to prop up by matchmaking and bringing this girl in here who should not have ever been allowed to pass any physical, and I doubt if she's even given a physical, to be back in the ring as soon as she was 3 months after being knocked out. And then on top of that, when you look at her box rec, before she was knocked out, she was out the ring for 3 years. And then she steps into a ring and gets knocked out, and then 3 months later she gets back in there. This girl's body wasn't conditioned for that. And they fell. They got blood on their hands. Like I was saying, there's blood all on these punks' hands, man. There's so much compromise in this game. So much compromise. And these dudes who are taken from it, because like I say, I don't want to say the word on your channel, the RAPE and the dang game, they don't care. Because if this thing fold up, the only ones hurt behind the folding of the sport of boxing are these young kids who've been exploited by this game since their amateur careers. They have nothing but to remain in poverty, and they better wake up, because it can always happen with the stroke of a pen. But that's all I got on that one.
Yeah, and you know, you're absolutely correct. The information that we speak on all the time, we need not just our listening audience and viewers out there who listen to our show and they pat us on the back and congratulate us. And they tell us, oh, great show, guys. We need your voices to raise up on circumstances like this. What was her record again, Reggie? I don't think she had 7 fights, did she? How many fights?
No, she was 2 wins and I think 4 losses.
Yeah.
Which that last fight, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's obvious that she didn't have no real amateur career or anything like that. So she's basically on the job, you know, learning on the job, and probably can't afford a real trainer and coach that would teach her how to protect herself, which is the most important thing, not how to throw punches, but how to slip, block, evade punches, and not take punches flush. And if you looked at those last couple of punches that her opponent landed on her, they were flush, snapping her head back and everything. So when we talk about this, I don't love the sport so much that I'm a savage and can sit there and enjoy what ended up happening here. You know, and as a coach and trainer myself, I have the compassion to look at a fighter and know when they don't have it even in the gym and sparring or whatever, you have to know when to pull a person out and things of that nature, and don't let them back in there until you've had them brush up on some things. I've told this story before about one of the guys that I work with. He's a guy that he doesn't box anymore, but he participates in decathlons and things like marathons and stuff like that. And Paul is a guy that he's been an athlete his life, but he wanted to be in boxing for a duration. But I remember early on when he came to me and said, "Hey man, I hear, you coach boxing and this and that, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Yeah," and invited him to the gym and everything. And working with him, I told him that we're going to start you off with, the floor exercises. This is what we termed it, floor exercises, and get you overall feel of the gym. You're going to watch some guys doing some stuff in there, some sparring, some, training exercises and things of that nature. He's like, "Oh man, I want to get in the ring and spar." I was like, "Dude, you're not ready to spar. I want you to look, observe some things, And he observed some sparring matches and whatnot, and he was like, "Oh, that looks pretty tough." And he was like, "But I still want to get in there. I still want to get in there." And I was like, "You're not ready, man. You're not ready." And even though some of the guys in there were maybe just a few months ahead of him as far as being in the gym on the regular, I never wanted to put guys in there that didn't know what they were doing at all and couldn't protect themselves at all. That's how a guy get hit, he can go to the hospital that same day. You understand? That's not what I want. So long story short, he decided to go to a tough man contest one night. It was like a nightclub had these tough man contests. And this was after a couple weeks of doing floor exercises in the gym and stuff. He wanted to go to the tough man contest. So when he showed up at the gym the next day, he had a shiner, So I was like, "Hey man, what happened to you? You been fighting in the streets or something?" He's like, "No man, I was at this club last night and they had a tough man contest and I got in there and the dude nailed me a good shot." I was like, "You just want to get in there, don't you?" He's like, "Yeah, I see what you're saying though." He's like, "But it looks so easy from the outside." Do that sound familiar, people? It looks so easy from the outside.
Mikey.
So I told him, I said, "Listen, I'll show you some things and you have to practice." I said, "And then we'll put you in with somebody with some soft sparring, but it's like you have to go through this first. You just can't get in there." And it was a slow process, but let's just say like 6 months later, from where we brought him in to where he arrived to be, it was like night and day. And you know what? He later thanked me. He said, "Man, I'm so glad you didn't put me in there to let me get my ass kicked." I said, "You know something? There are places in this town, because we're in Chicago, right? I'm like, you can go across town to a gym and the coach will throw you right in there. Let's see what he's got." And he might take one of his best guys and put him in there with you. Beat all the fight out of you. You never want to get in that ring again after an experience like that, unless you just happen to be one of those hardened personalities that deep down you have an indomitable spirit about yourself. You don't want to give up and this and that, but you still will take a tremendous whooping not going in versed in what you're doing. So I told him, I said, "My philosophy is a bit different, but at the end of the day, if I ask something of you and tell you to do something or try this or that, you'll have confidence in what I'm sharing with you because I've given you the building blocks to have something to believe in." Isn't it nice to be able to reach in your back pocket, open a book, and have a page of reference than to reach back there and there's nothing? Huh? Think about it. So there are people who are out here, they will feed you to the wolves. this young lady was fed to the wolves. And I'm so sad for her family. My sympathies go out to them. 18 is a baby. Those are my thoughts on that, Reggie.
Yeah, and these people got to be mindful, man, especially these young fighters moving up, man, especially with the women. I know you remember when De La Hoya put on that fight where he got this fighter, he's building up Sinisa Estrada, and they threw her in the ring against that 40-year-old woman who all she did was walk directly across that ring, punched this woman about 3 or 4 times, knocked her out cold. And this is a woman, Sinisa is already built up in her career, 18 fights or something at the time. This other woman who's like 40 something at the time when she's getting in the ring, just started boxing, had only had like 4 fights or something like that. And she fought one woman twice that she knocked out back to back within a few months. And then they throw her in the ring against this woman to look good for an Oscar de la highlight to hype this chick up that he's trying to build up. And it was one of the most savage things that I've seen. And I was like, somebody's going to really get killed doing this type of crap. And then we have this young girl that this happens to. But there's a lot of sharks out here who are doing things just to build up on the career of certain people they find is marketable. So they'll find somebody marketable to go in there and just run through the people they view as trash. And it's a crappy thing. And it's the reason why you can't get top tier competition who should be fighting at the level versus people at the level with them. You don't get it because they rather showcase and highlight this type of crap. But that's my thoughts on this one.
Yeah. And let's go on into going back to the conversation that when you came on where we were talking about Oscar Valdez. Salute to Supreme Beast Boxing Talk out there. I see you in the chat. He says, salute Grandmaster Sensei and Reggie. Salute to you. The sister and queen, Tay Brown, is out there, says, the quiet storm just sliding through saying, hey, peace and blessings, fellas. Love y'all. Appreciate that, Tay. Thank you for stopping by. So, Reggie, let's open up this conversation, man, on this Valdez. And I know you have, some things to say, and you're here now, and I'll open up, that avenue for you to express your thoughts, and you can take your time with it because, I was saying pretty much a lot of what I had to say and think about it, but at the same time, I dropped some other names, made Canelo a part of that process. Another name that I wanted to make a part of this process is Ryan Garcia and the whole Eddie Reynoso camp, even including Andy Ruiz Jr. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't like it, but I want to hear what you have to say on this.
Man, this one off top is the Canelo compromise. Canelo having many people in his back pocket, Mauricio, commissions, other people looking to get in on the Canelo sweepstakes as far as money and these other organizations. You got this tribe that wants to put on this one because when you're dealing with tribal communities that's putting on this, obviously they may have casinos. We all know tourism is down. This is something to drive out crowds, to prop up the economy out there, which has been kind of maybe lacking or whatnot. They're not driving in the tourism that's needed. And Mauricio, with this thing of Canelo missed his date, as far as Mexican independence, they need something going on for this event, and for that celebration in their independence, that he was willing to make the compromise and just push all ethics and morals into the gutter, and once again go about the restructuring of rules, just the quick changing of company policy. Same way he can come out with franchising belts and stuff, elevating levels for when you fail for a drug test. What the F is this doing in these people's system to begin with? What is this doing in their system? And I ain't never heard nobody in the history of drinking herbal teas pop up with some kind of, I ain't never heard of this stuff, amphetamine, whatever the heck this is, inside of an herbal tea. If it's herbal, then what the heck is it doing with sound like laboratory stimulant in it? If it's really some herbal stuff, what is this dude Valdez doing? Like I say, everything looks strange surrounding this whole camp over there in San Diego, right near the border. We know all type of ill stuff go on near the border, coming up out of that corrupt country. Like I say, this ain't a knock on Mexicans, but y'all know what Mexico about. Even the Mexicans, I'm talking directly to the Mexicans. Y'all know what that country about. That's why a lot of y'all flee in that damn country. You know the government ain't nothing. You know structure ain't nothing. You grease the palm of anybody, which is what Canelo is doing and what they want from Canelo. You grease the palm, they turn a blind eye to it. You grease the palm, they'll change the rules on it. Oh, we'll fix it. We'll change it up. But it's going to come to bite these dudes. And then this country needs to come about looking into these things and getting rid of these organizations that ain't from this country. Maybe America need another U.S. What's the old belt? USBA or NABF? America needs its own belt, and it needs to be a organization that's an international organization that the top fighters come to fight for. All these companies out of Mexico and Venezuela and Panama need to be exiled from this country because they're doing too much to pull over this new regime of high level of racism, clear and blatant racial bullcrap that once again black fighters are stuck in having to deal with. The fact that you will see the Michael Fox fight to where a Venezuelan propped up fighter gets his way and is just the most egregious level of cheating I've seen since watching this sport. And I mean that was blatant and foul as hell. And also with the compromise with the dude who they cheated Michael Fox against is the fact that the WBA is a sponsor of this dang fighter, which is a conflict, should be a major conflict and violation of interest. Ain't no way they should be sponsoring this dude's fights. And then even looking at the fights on that dude's record, you can clearly see what kind of favor and privileges they were given to this dude to allow him to cheat his way through fights, to just go with fouling fighters, punching fighters behind the head without question or issues really too much drawn up or warnings from referees. You saw that. Then they put judges in place to ensure that even if he is getting schooled, dumped up, that we ain't gonna count it for that other fighter. Oh, that black fighter needs to work. If he's working 2 times harder, he needs to double that up because it ain't good enough. That round goes to this dang Venezuelan. That's the type of crap going on with this game of boxing. And the fact that Canelo has compromised, Mauricio has contaminated the game, we got a major issue. And the fact that VADA is obsolete, what's the point of VADA? If you got stuff on banned substance lists, and then all of a sudden Mauricio can go in there and scratch it off, say, yeah, we'll overlook that. Yeah, we'll move forward with the fight. Yeah, it'll be okay. You other guys don't do that. The game is compromised. It's holes in the game. And the fact that he's fighting somebody from Brazilian of a darker complexion, they can get 2 craps about it. They can get 2 craps about it. And the fact that that organization will move forward with it, even before they make this investigation, they don't give a dang. Oh, yeah, whatever, he failed, okay, it's cool with us. Still come, we'll put on a fight. I mean, it's clown stuff. That belt should have been gone immediately. And then the Mauricio, when the A sample come out, we need to investigate. Then you do a B sample, investigate, and then the investigation continue on, and you come up and accept some dang herbal tea excuse. Ain't nobody in history of drinking, or black folks drink 1 million tons of herbal tea. I ain't heard not one black, especially black athletes, come up hot on no dang herbal tea. What's next? You gonna come up hot for drinking water because it got 1 extra molecule of oxygen in it or something? The hydrogen too high up in it? Like, come on. They gonna start suspending black fighters for drinking water. I mean, the something really has to be done. I ain't rocking with the Oscar Valdez fight. I'm not watching that at all. And I questioned his victory over that cat Burchett. I celebrated his victory over Burchett because it was an amazing victory. But now looking at this, that's probably the reason why he ran through Burchett like Burchett wasn't nothing. But before the Burchett fight, you struggling against a last minute replacement in Lopez and getting dropped.
Right. And then remember, Reggie, he moved up to fight Burchell.
None of it makes sense.
See, and that's the thing. So he wasn't doing what he did to Burchell. He was not doing that to the guys he was fighting at that lower weight. You see what I'm saying?
And then in that video playing, he delivering power shots while running backwards.
Yeah.
Lights out power, running backwards. Energy on point. I mean,
it puts a whole different light on that situation, doesn't it? And as I said,
absolutely.
I said Burchell rehydrated up like 14 pounds or something. He after the weigh-in, he did come in heavier because they had the next day weights. The way, the day of the fights. And I just don't remember what the poundage was. So even pounding on a bigger guy who you moved up to fight and you're knocking him around like that. See, we didn't question that because the performance looks so impressive, right? But now when you get news like this, it's like, wait a minute, it makes you go, I got to reassess things here. You see? Because just because he didn't pop dirty doesn't mean he wasn't dirty. Huh? And how many guys who've popped dirty or how many guys who haven't popped dirty but really were dirty in a fight? I mean, we've seen it so many times. We still have not received a B sample from Dillian White from his Oscar Rivas fight. Right?
Fact. And once again, all you got to do is grease the palm. Mauricio moved things around. That's exactly what happened. Eddie done greased the palm on Mauricio. And he turned a blind eye because now we see Vada finding something don't mean nothing.
STORMYBMAN is a gangster. And for a lot of those people out there that don't know this, he's not even of Mexican descent. Okay? He's from the eastern part of the world, his family bloodline. So, how about that? A lot of people don't know that. But, yeah. This man has really run the sport into the ground with his organization. But he's found a way to uplift a minority people and give them something to cheer and get behind or whatever. But he's making a mockery of your intelligence. It's like you're telling somebody that they're doing a great job and you're still kicking them in the pants at the same time. It's like, this man doesn't mean you any good. And you can see where his ethics are when you look at like what happened in that fight with Francine Cruz Discern and that woman Jimenez, when she couldn't get to the U.S., for that first fight that was scheduled to have because she said she was having visa problems. That woman was taking PED'S, man, and she's trying to make the transition from woman to man. So quite naturally, in order to do that, you have to put some substances in your body. So here you have someone who's naturally a woman, but wants to transition to a man, but is competing in a women's sport. How could you not be dirty? And then when you look at the outcome of what it was, the first thing Mauricio said was, people are silly, and how could you, be so disrespectful for someone who did this and that and the other. And then it turned out that the woman was dirty. She was dirty. And then he had to stick his fat feet in his own mouth. But then he took forever to get a woman her belts back. He was in defense of her without even investigating. But when someone of Mexican descent had a situation similar, he confiscated gloves and everything, and we're going to launch an investigation right away. He's showing his bias. He's showing it to you. Nobody's asking for provisions. People want an level playing field. That's all. And let everybody work things out amongst themselves, because at the end of the day, who's best is going to rise. Who don't belong is going to be pushed to the wayside. That's life. You don't need somebody holding your hand, propping you up, giving you all the what do they call it? There's a word that they call it, mulligans. They giving you all the mulligans so you can make it through. No, man, life ain't like that. You could catch a break from time to time, every once in a while or whatever. But for somebody to constantly be giving someone, like that whole thing with Canelo and the clenbuterol, and all of that. It's like you want to change the levels of what is acceptable when it's a banned substance to begin with. And if you want to tell me this guy got this from a street vendor or whatever, man, get the hell out of here with that. He's a multimillionaire. He don't have street nothing in his purchases. He's getting everything top of the line and everything, and at a discount, because rich people don't pay for nothing. You understand? So when you guys come up with these excuses, because that's what I call them, but I want to know the reasons. Your excuse, you took clenbuterol from a street vendor or whatever, but what was the reason? Because you had the high amounts in your body. You're not fat, you're not overweight, so it's like it came from somewhere else other than the meat, man. You can't make me believe that. So what is your reason? Are you trying to put yourself in a place where physically you can compete with someone else because you're inadequate? We may be getting to the truth. Huh? When he was fighting at 155, he had to have that edge over those who were competing at 154. And then for someone to step in the ring for him at that time, he had provisions of rehydration clauses and stuff. You can't go up above this or whatever. But he has a comfort level for himself. Even now, with Caleb Plant coming out and voicing his opinion on these matters, his response to that is he's threatening he may pull out of the fight. If you pull out of this fight with Caleb Plant, you didn't want the fight to begin with, because you're a chump. Huh? You want everything your way. Life doesn't work like that. Yes, you're a wealthy person right now, but when you cross over, you can't take those bags of money with you. Ask others who have left here and left all those material possessions behind for other people to fight over and go to court and everything like that, kill each other over and everything like that. Yeah. And then lastly, this guy Reynoso. What a piece of work he is. But I'm rambling. I'll let you go on, Reggie, because I put this photo up here with the whole cast: Canelo, Ryan, Reynoso, Valdez, and Andy Ruiz Jr. All of them up there together.
And you know what's interesting about that photo? Is this photo's taken by a dang doctor, a surgeon. And it's a doctor who stays inside of that gym. It's a doctor who stays around Oscar Valdez. It's a doctor who considers that gym his office. And why is that? And now you're seeing dramatic changes in a lot of these guys. Ryan Garcia having the little breakdown he had. Maybe them dang steroids stocking his clean system at one point where he virginized to everything. He probably never had a drink, probably never smoked marijuana, none of this stuff. And then the fact he ingests this stuff in him, it gave him a strange reaction. There's all type of stuff going up out of this group of people within that camp. All of a sudden, Canelo can't take the fight day. He didn't negotiate it too long. He don't want to fight the Caleb Plant fight. He don't want to accept all this money. And then right after that, as this time goes by where he ain't going to compete in September, now he takes the same offers that were already put on the table for him. Then you get Andy Ruiz, who's delaying his return to the ring to fake a knee injury. I ain't seen no surgery photos regarding the knee injury from Andy Ruiz. I ain't seen this doctor that's hanging around and posted on his channel. I don't see none of that. I see him and Oscar Rivas kicking it. I see Oscar Rivas drinking something out of a Gatorade bottle. This doctor is bringing stuff to that gym. That doctor is monitoring what's going on in their system. And he's also creating the excuses to hide the stuff and use it as complaint. You also see this doctor rubbing shoulders with Mauricio Suleiman. And where is this doctor based out of? In Mexico. There's a lineage, or there's a connection between all these players involved in this stuff. And you're seeing dramatic physical changes in those fighters coming up out of that gym. What the heck? I understand people can have friends from any walks of life, but why is this doctor in here? This doctor ain't operating on any of these dudes. We've seen the same thing when Pacquiao used to have the other guy who was known, was his name rung bells through the boxing community of being a provider of performance enhancers. That Ariza, whatever his name was, he was known throughout boxing about that. Many of these cats who end up bringing, and this to be the issue about with the sport of boxing, where you hear about all the personal trainers and this and that, which is, like I say, I don't buy into that stuff improving any boxer, because no one in the era of the 15-round fighters ever used that. Boxing training, boxing lifestyle gets you to the point where you need to be. But you deal with these people who come in from that physical strength and conditioning world, who also dibble and dabble in bringing shortcutting synthetics to helping you achieve certain things you want. Oh, you need to burn fat? It's these other guys coming into this boxing world that is providing that. And cutting the shortcut, cutting the line. Oh, you got stamina issues? Okay, we're going to produce and provide you with this. Oh, you got weight issues? Oh, because you like to eat the burger. Oh, because you don't like to run that additional 0.5 or that 1 mile that we demand you do every day. You want to cut the shortcut. Okay, we have you take this, drink it with about a quart of water. It's all this type of crap going on within this game. And they know there's a battle in this game. There's a battle in athletics, period, between the ill side of science and the side of science that tries to catch this stuff. And there's always ill side of science that tries to get around stuff. Go to your job. You smoke weed? Okay, we got something that can mask that. Here, take this after your analysis. You'll pass it. There's always some twisted stuff, and that's what these cats be doing. They try to put stuff in to cover up, because there's other scientific people who create the research. They know all this molecular stuff, moving this over here, moving that over there. It'll come up to look like this. It'll look like something that they're doing all this. It's a constant battle. But now when the science finds some stuff, and now you're creating new rules of changing. Oh, well, it ain't banned today. We'll take it off the ban list. We'll let this guy move through. And the fact that no fines have been given to Oscar, and Oscar knew nothing was happening, because even looking at his timeline, It was almost like he was taunting. Still in there training with Canelo. They still hitting the bag. Him reading the books with the certain titles, taking souls. Can't hear anything. People talking, whatever the other book he reading. He just taunting. Like, ain't nothing about to happen. We got the game on lock over here. We got our homie Mauricio. He's the cleanup guy. You know, he like one of the old mafia lawyer types. He gonna clean everything up. We'll slaughter in the street. It's a foul, twisted thing going on in this game, and these cats got to be removed, not supported. Let the Mexicans support them if that's what they want to support. You can support subpar BS that goes on through this game, but I think Burchek and them need to. But it's probably too late for even Burchek to even come up with any claim. It's been so far gone, and even and the sad thing is, it kind of made me question when watching how easy Oscar Valdez beat him. It made me question Burchek as a champion. Like, dang, maybe Burchek wasn't as real as we thought he was. But now that ends up flipping. There's so many questionable things in this game. And also, when you're looking at the WBC and Mauricio, that's the other thing made me question. Are these cats even testing Tyson Fury? Or are they testing this dude?
Dude, he went back. He went back to the UK. It's like that's where he originally got in trouble. Remember?
Wait, let me say this, Stormy. You just see, I don't know where Vada located, but there's been travel bans against what is that? And the BBC can't do nothing because he ain't even licensed over there. To where, how is Vada going over there when there's travel bans for people flying or originating flights up out of America? What is going on? And this is something else connected with this clown Bob Arum. Bob Arum can be excluded out of that as well. And I wonder where his hands are twisted in this. But that's what I got. Go ahead, Stormy.
No, I was just, co-signing on what you were saying, because he could be cycling on some really heavy stuff right now, and there's no, body to check on him or anything. That got to be at the end of the day why he went back. But with the travel bans, hell, he might not be able to come back. So this fight still may not happen. And even if it's not because of the travel ban thing, I think the fight still ain't going to happen. This man does not want to give Wilder a chance at a rematch. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But when you look at these guys and they're cheating, they have to do things on a time frame. It's like Canelo. Remember, the Caleb Plant fight was originally suggested for, what was it, September?
For September, yep.
And
this
then it was like, no, he ain't going to fight him or whatever. Then they come back and say, well, he is going to fight him. But the whole plan was to get beyond the September date because he may not be physically ready. Why? Because he got some stuff in his system. That's why. And I love the fact that Caleb Plant is on it. With all his back and forth that he's had, the comments that were released from social media and the things that he's saying, he wants this fight. And I do believe he wants it as a chance to kick some tail. You know what I mean? It's like, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you are a competitive person. He has boxing ability and skills that can back up having that type of boldness and brashness. But man, would it be something for him to come out and really teach this guy a lesson? Because this guy is a real prima donna, Reggie. We're talking about Alvarez. And the stuff that Caleb was saying today on those releases of comments that he was saying today that I was able to pick up on, I'm like, man, he's talking some real stuff there. You know what I mean? And Canelo's response is, oh, well, maybe I won't even fight you or whatever. It's like, well, you're just a chump. You didn't want the fight to begin with, not under the auspices of fighting head up. Look at all the provisions he was trying to make in the deals and negotiations. He was like, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to wash my underwear and dry my socks and everything. It's like, really? Just for this one little belt that All you got to do is beat the man, Canelo, and you become undisputed. But you got to make all of this a tough go because you want to stack. There's that name again, stack. When I talked earlier in the show, I talked about when people are using and abusing steroids, they stack. Okay, so he wants to stack the deck in his favor with an opportunity to go for that undisputed and make sure he strips Plant of any type of, solid foundation to stand on to be competitive. That's why you go in there and you become like Marvin Hagler when he said, from now on, these are my judge and jury. That's what you have to do to people like that. Take it out of the judge's hands by putting him on his bottom.
Absolutely. And I hope to God Caleb Plant go in there and just beats the dog crap out of Canelo. I hope he puts on a clinic the same way Floyd Mayweather put a clinic on him. And the thing is, if those judges think they're going to go in there and cheat him, they got another thing coming. Them judges think they're going to go in there and cheat Caleb, they got another thing coming. And Canelo might as well pack it up and go ahead and retire. And the other Mexican champions who don't like him, they're writing everything they view about this guy. Where people thought the Moraleses and Marquez and Barrera was hating on this guy, they're absolutely right about this dude. This dude don't take straight up fades with none of these cats. All these different restrictions upon what you can and can't do. Like, it's time for this cat to be gone about boxing, or even if he ain't gone from boxing, it's time to make him have to work and be hungry once again in the sport, because he holds too many keys within it, as far as that's kind of what people speculate that he holds. It's up for fighters like how Caleb talking, like F. Canelo, you are nobody in this game. If you want to pull out that fight, pull out of it. Who else you gonna fight? Who else you gonna fight? The clamoring behind the fight is right here. And you think Al Heyman holds Canelo in his pocket, so Canelo can talk all that crap he want. You ain't pulling out if you sign that contract, boy. You ain't pulling out of nothing. So Caleb can continue to talk crap and expose these clowns and call them out. And I like the fact that these fighters have started to voice their opinions. It's time to call these punks out, because you get punks out of this camp who can act like they this and that, don't want to fight you. Ryan Garcia, who's a nobody, can act like what the champion ain't, and he don't have to fight him. Like, Mauricio done screwed up so much around this goddamn game, and he got people believing they are what they ain't.
Yeah. Especially Canelo. That whole thing of creating that franchise belt for him and changing the levels of PED'S that could be in somebody's system or whatever, primarily because it was Canelo. Man, you know what? Those were two things, man, you could take Mauricio out back in the alley and let him have it for that, bro. Because it set a table. It set a tone for some things to follow. And I'm surprised that the fighters in the sport didn't rail against that, because that basically set him separate from everybody. And, look at how long we've been trying to wait for undisputed. Josh Taylor is the only undisputed champ. Look at how long we've been waiting for undisputed. And it's a reason for that, Reggie. They don't really want people to come together under the umbrella where there's consolidation. They want people to be at each other and different and separated and so forth and this and that, because you can actually have greater control over circumstances when you're not working against a united front. You can always have someone who will sell out. You know what I mean? Someone who will be like, well, Bernard Hopkins recently, talking that stuff about Earl Spence. You know what I mean? Where's Bernard Hopkins now? Talking about Valdez. Huh? Where he at? And when you see those kind of things, that's what I'm talking about, the sellout portion of it, because you have those type of people who come out and they display a characteristic of being a proponent of chaos. You just want to keep bull crap going. And you sit back and you grin and bear it and you be like, do you see that? You know, but you caused this. There's a special place in hell for people like that. And that's in all walks of life. We're not talking about just sports and entertainment. It's on your regular jobs. It's out here in the world. You go to the department stores or something like grocery store. It's people like that. They're proponents of chaos. They keep shit going. And there's no other way for me to say it. I have to say it plainly like that. That's who they are. And those are the ones you have to deal with first before you take care of the rest of the business. Because if you don't take care of them, what happens is there's always that loophole for one of them to slip through and to continue. You know? So, man. And I've been showing these clips in the background. These are all these guys out of Reynoso's camp. You know? You can look at this guy Ruiz right there. Look at his body. Huh? How you get all that weight off? And there's got to be something else about these substances that these guys are putting in their body, Reggie, because I do believe it has an impact on your ability to take something, meaning endure. It's like, because you saw that left that put Ryan on his can from Campbell. It was a nice shot right on the chin. And then in this fight, you see a tremendous right hand that nearly cleaned Ruiz's clock clean, you know? And look at that. The guy almost, and he come back from that. Now, I've never known anybody say, well, Andy Ruiz has a great chin. AJ had him down. He got right back up. Sometimes a guy having a great chin is one thing, but then somebody having, that resolve and deep well of resolve that, to be able to come back, that's a different thing. But what if it's these, what if these guys are taking something, Reggie? That creates a whole new light on things. Because we've seen what happens when people get hit and they really go. You're seeing some stuff these days that's kind of like, look at how Fury got up off that canvas in that 12th round against Wilder. And we've seen what Wilder done to other people. Did he have something in his system? I remember Gerald McClellan knocking Nigel Benn out in that first round of their fight. And Ben was asleep. He was sagging through those ropes and he hit the canvas and he got up. He woke up. He come back fighting. I was always wondering about that. I was like, first of all, it was a long count. Ben didn't get back inside the ropes within a 10 count, but they gave it to him because he was fighting in his home country and everything. And that's a whole nother story as well. But what if these guys are taking something and what we don't know is the substances not only can enhance and help them or whatever, but it also helps them endure as well? And when I say endure, I'm not talking about your stamina endurance, but if you get hit a shot that would normally might turn your lights out and it maybe doesn't. And we've always said, well, PEDs don't help your chin, right? But what if they have found something? You spoke earlier about if they move something over here and they move something over there, they move these molecules around and that stuff. You don't know what it'll do. The super soldier serum that we see in the Marvel films with Steve Rogers and stuff like that. And remember, that was created in the 50s and the 40s, right? Well, what if it might really exist now, Reggie? It's something to think about.
Absolutely. Hey, and what you're bringing up that clip of Ruiz, it makes all the sense for Ruiz to go in there and find some stuff. All these athletes are looking for a competitive edge. One of the greatest things and the highlight for Ruiz was when he started touching that money and he liked what it was able to afford him. And to fall off from that one, To fall off from the making of the money sets him way back, and he does not want to lose his ability to draw in money and to be competitive. And, matter of fact, not just speaking of being competitive. So he's supposed to be on a 2-fight losing streak. That Areola fight showed him, like, wow, am I losing it? I go into this fight against this heavyweight who is well past his prime, kind of 1 foot on his way up out the door, and I go out here and I struggle against this guy. I don't look nothing like the first Mexican champion. I look like somebody just walked in from out the amateurs going into this ring to be boxed around here by guys. I think Ariel may be in his 40s or whatnot, but definitely past his prime, has been in all sorts of wars, to go in here, dropping Andy Ruiz and giving Andy Ruiz a questionable victory in that fight because he should have lost that fight. That he's like, man, I can't move forward with these type of performances. I can't get back up to that level of where the money is, being with what I'm giving to the sport. He needs a boost or something. This is what pushes athletes to get to that level. My punches aren't fast. I'm not responding quick enough. I need some help. And here comes these synthetic doctors. And like I said, that Canelo camp has a doctor in it, a doctor who can easily touch drugs, who can easily get these prescriptions, who can easily get connections. There's a huge black market all throughout Mexico, because though they can find a lot of stuff down in that country, that they can either go across that border, get the work done. I don't think he'll risk crossing the American border, but he's definitely taking those guys down there. That's why that camp is so close to the border. They're probably going down there very often to get whatever they need. And the other thing that's an issue for me when they talk about the WBC and this clean boxing program is, why does a fighter have to enroll in it? Why ain't any year-round random thing that's being done? And that's what opens the doors for these fighters to get in here cheating. If I ain't enrolled in it, I ain't got nothing going, you better not show up to my house. It's the attitudes of these fighters. And that's why it's the fighters, and that's the other thing that plays into what we speak about the inactivity of these fighters. They can't fight active. They can't be active if they own this stuff. They have to take time away from the game. And that's why it was something that came, I forgot, I was looking at, will we ever see the day of fighters with 100 fight, let's not even say 100 fights. The day where fighters are fighting 60 times in their career.
Hey, man.
You won't.
Check it out. You just said something, Reggie. Wow. That was a mic drop moment. You said these guys can't fight more often because they got this stuff in their system and they need time to cycle off and everything. You're absolutely right. That explains, you know how we sit up and we talk about that, oh, he needs to be more active and everything. But it's like, if a guy can't fight another fight in 60 days or whatever, why not? Why wait? Why let all that great conditioning go to waste unless it wasn't really great conditioning to begin with? You know, when they have these actors like Hugh Jackman and Chris Hemsworth playing these heroes in these movies and stuff, and they go and in like 60 days, they come out looking like the comic book characters that they play with their muscles and stuff. That's not just working out in the gym. That's like, have you seen Chris Hemsworth guns when he plays Thor? The dude, it looks like, his guns are like Hulk Hogan's used to be when he was a young wrestler. You know what I mean? It's like they're really out there. And then when he's not playing in the movies, playing that character, he walks around, he's just a 6'4" tall white dude. You know what I mean? Slender build and everything. But when he's playing the Thor for Marvel, those guns are all jacked up like that. Dude, you can't go to the gym and work out for 60 days and have your arms look like that. You can't. He's on something. Hugh Jackman, when he did that X-Men film, or not the X-Men, the Wolverine movie, not the Old Man Logan, but he did one where it was called The Wolverine, where he walked around with that wife beater on all the time and everything. That dude was like jacked. His veins was bulging out and everything. I was like, look at Hugh Jackman. It's like, and he was like approaching 40 years old when he made that movie. So you showed me some 40-year-old dudes that could look like that ain't been doing that all their life. You understand? I ain't trying to say like you can't get in good shape, but guys who've been doing that all their life, they're going to look one way. And a guy like Hugh Jackman, who's an actor, how does he get those results? He's taking something. Unbelievable. But you said something when you said that. That may be one of the major reasons why these guys don't fight more often, because they can't stay on that stuff year round. You know, they have to have time. They come off of it. But I know we're coming down toward the last portion of the show. Let's take a quick moment out to talk about the fights for tomorrow, Reggie. I didn't get a chance to get to Thunderous Top 10 tonight, so next week, because I made some changes to the Thunderous Top 10. But let's talk about what's coming up for tomorrow afternoon. We've got a card on DAZN. Rematch Room is doing it once again. We have a rematch that's taking place between Mauricio Lara and Josh Warrington. The first fight was an exciting fight that saw Lara score a knockout over Josh Warrington, who was the heavy favorite going into their fight. A lot of people didn't know who Lara was, but they knew who he was by the end of that night. And tomorrow they're going to be back at it. It's going to be interesting. We're also going to see Taylor versus Hahn. You know, Katie Taylor is the UK's female boxer of repute, you know, so they're really hyping her up. And then a fight that was scheduled to take place in late July, Reggie, will be added to this undercard, and that's Conor Benn taking on Adrian Granados, which is a fight that I did a video on it and this week, and I'm kind of looking forward to this because I got my eye on Conor Benn. But this is an interesting card that takes place tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to checking out the action. I want to say salute to Scrapbook Boxing out there. I see you out there, Scrap. What's good with you, brother? So what are your thoughts, Reggie?
I was watching that weigh-in, and I see Warrington trying to step to Laura, and I like the way Laura grabbed him and shoved him. Like, you mess with the wrong cat. You care if I'm in your part of the world? I don't care about none of that. You gonna mess around and poke the bear, and I'm gonna knock you out even sooner. And I think that's possibly what may happen. And I don't know where the mind of Warrington is, and Warrington kind of coming out of a huge stupor from facing that defeat, going through some bouts of depression from suffering that loss, but he's showing heart by trying to get back in there. But this can close the doors to his chapters. It can close the door to his career in boxing. This is the final chapter for him. So is he going to come out here and give it his all? Possibly. But I just think that he's too easy of a trick for Laura to figure out. And I don't think he's complex enough to give Laura an issue. But now we come into this weekend, and it's questions of, I'm watching to see what kind of performance that Warrington gives out. If Warrington comes through here trying to mash through this guy, I'm drawing huge questions of whether he's clean or not. Katie Taylor versus Han. I don't know too much about Han, but I think this is probably going to be a showcase. They probably picked an opponent with enough experience to give a little bit of a challenge to Katie Taylor. But I got to give Katie Taylor credit as well. I ain't going to take nothing away from her, even though I know what they're doing with her. She has a lot of heart. I can't take that away from her, so I'm going to give her that, even though I don't know too. Wait, no, I think I may have seen Han. That last name sounds familiar. But Katie Taylor definitely is one of these highly skilled women. But after this fight, if she is to win, Katie needs to step it up. Time for Katie Taylor, and it's time for Eddie Hearn to stop hiding each other. and getting these rings with fighters who they need to be fighting. Stop keeping her protected over in the UK. Exhibit her to the world. Bring her over to the United States, where international boxing is held. Conor Ben versus Granados. I think Granados is going to be a tough fight to try and push Conor Ben, but I think Conor Ben, with his speed, is much quicker. His relentlessness, the momentum he has, his motivations. He's going to go in here. He's going to go in here and he's going to run through Granados. I don't think Granados going to probably be comfortable being over there, especially with that crowd. It may end up rattling him a little bit. And I expect Conor Ben to be, he's going to be relentless on this dude, and he ain't going to step off the gas for him not once. And I think I got him winning. I don't know if he can stop Granados, but I got him just beating Granados up in this fight.
One thing is for certain, that Granados has only lost to the top level guys. So that's going to be a good barometer to gauge where Conor is, because you remember his Granados fight against Danny Garcia. Danny had rehydrated so big, man. He made Granados look like a lightweight. Remember their fight? And Danny beat the crap out of Granados. He knocked him out, but he looked so much bigger and stronger than him. I don't know that'll be the case with Conor, who's younger. But I'm interested in seeing. Something tells me, Reggie, that Conor Ben is a little bit better than people think he is. Not a whole lot. I'm not trying to say, oh, he's going to go up there and beat Earl and all of that. No, I'm not saying that in the least. No, but I do think, because I even talked with Laws D about it, and Laws is not high on Conor at all. But just like I felt about Joe Joyce, I feel that Joe Joyce is a bit of a tougher task in the heavyweight division than people are giving him credit for being. People want to talk about how slow he is and everything, but he just keeps winning, doesn't he? And there's something about Conor Ben that I think that he's starting to, and let's get this out there, Reggie, because you and I have talked about it. He's coming over, he's coming over here to fight guys and stuff like that. He's coming over here to train, just like Buatsi is doing. That's a good look, man. Instead of waiting for, a loss and then be like, oh, let me try to add this. So I like that. You know what I mean? He was over here in July, Conor, and he was over here getting some sparring and stuff like that with some U.S. fighters. I don't know who he worked with or whatever, but he was here. You don't see Dillian White doing that. You don't see Anthony Joshua doing that. And, some of the other fighters that they name. And it speaks a lot to the nature of the fighter who wants to be a better fighter than where he may be. So I like that. I really do. And as far as the Warrington fight, I think that Lara is going to get him again. There's something about how he won the first fight. If you remember, and I think, you called that and we watched that, Warrington wasn't expecting Lara to be as good as he was. And then when Lara started banging him to the body, and remember, he had suffered a bad cut too. Mauricio Lara suffered a bad cut over his eye, but he fought through that. And when he started nailing Warrington, Warrington had no answers for that. He basically broke him down and put him down. I could see the same thing happening. And Warrington, I think he's 30 years old. And Lara is like 23 or something like that. He's not as nearly as old. So I don't think that first fight was a fluke, Reggie. So I look forward to it. Are you calling it?
No, I'm gonna just end up watching it because it's gonna be too early in the day, and I know I might have to do stuff with the kids.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be tuning in, but salute to Divine Sense out there. I see you, brother. He says swooping in to jab that like button. Appreciate that. Oh, and by the way, for anyone that's out there listening, Divine Sense and I will be doing part 2 of In the Eye of the Storm tomorrow morning. That'll be at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll be doing a part 2 to the In the Eye of the Storm. So we'll be getting together for that. I'm going to tune into this, Reggie. Before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to watch the pre-fight stuff because they, DAZN, they have those interviews and stuff set up already for all of these fighters that'll be on that card tomorrow. They have like little interviews and stuff that they're doing with them. So I'll tune into that stuff and check it out. Are you up for a post-fight show on that tomorrow?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, so we can figure out how we want to do the post-fight show. We could either do it, when the fights are over with, or we could do it later in the evening, whichever suits your schedule better. So you just let me know. I've already put a reminder out for it, but I can always change the time. I think I put the reminder out for 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., something like that. But we'll change the time accordingly, however you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so... but yeah, man, we're going to get ready to get on out of here. What a show, man. We get to talking on these subjects, and it's like we go right on through. And I think we did have a very good discussion this evening on the ABCs and PEDs of boxing, because that's what the show was titled this evening, episode number 123. We're rolling them out like hotcakes. Go ahead and give us some final thoughts on this, Reg.
Yes, sir, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, man, and great discussion, man, on this topic of the foul, the folks that shouldn't be able to compete in this sport. The people who don't present nothing ought to be gone from the sport. These sanctioning bodies should be gone, especially when they don't do anything to sanctioning. The first order of the day for them should be to sanction order and structure and standards in which they live on. They should not be allowed to just up and change rules at the last second. The other thing, don't support this Valdez fight. He should be punished. He should be penalized. He should be fined, whatever the heck comes with it. And hopefully it puts enough pressure with people's disdain for it that they force them to cancel that fight. And also for the Spanish channels that love to get out on anytime they see any other fighter especially from the black fighters and their fans. They always got something quick to say, but they're mighty quiet when it comes down to people who look like them. And ain't no sticking the code. It's just showing that you're a bunch of suckers. You can't compete. You're weak. And you would never accomplish anything because you have weakened what your athletes could become. These new era Mexican athletes ain't nowhere close to what you see from Mexican athletes because they're finding ways to cut around corners, and that ain't the way that Warriors from out there do it. These cats coming out there, Reynoso Gym ain't doing nothing like the Warriors who done it before them. They're up here pulling off this sideways shortcut stuff because they have, you already know the rest. But that's all I got, OG.
Yeah, and salute to L-Dub out there. He says, will Ben suffer the effects coming off of C19? A lot of guys haven't looked good coming off of that. Great point there, L-Dub. Something to take into consideration on his performance. So we will see and monitor that. Reggie and I have talked about that in the past too. So yes, sir. We will keep it up. And I see salute to Boxing and Barbecue who popped in there as we're getting ready to sign off. He says, STORMYBMAN, Reggie, good evening. Good evening to you, brother. You look like you're going to have to catch us on the replay because we're getting ready to check on out for the evening. You missed out on great boxing talk if you weren't there for the entire show, man. So please make sure that you check us out on the replay and make sure you smash that like button. Everyone else that's out there that's catching us late and on the replay, please do the same. We appreciate the support. Hitting that like button is for the algorithms. It helps everything flow. And we're gonna check those fights out tomorrow. But yeah, man, what a great show this evening. Had a great great boxing talk. I like when we can talk about the things that, you know, people sometimes gloss over, and we have our own way that we go about it. So very proud of that. And Reggie and I, we put these shows together and we roll with them. It's like we found our little niche, and we just flow through with these shows. And I really appreciate Reggie's contributions. So if you guys haven't had a chance to subscribe to Reggie's channel, he's got 2 of them out there, so you can pick one. So he's got Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and then the same with number 2 behind it. Is that correct, Reggie? Reg?
Yo.
Yeah, I was asking, is Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens and then the same but with a 2 behind it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Your 2 channels, yeah. So I'm just trying to tell people where to go to sub to you or tune in to your content. But we're going to get on up out of here. It's been another Friday night chop session where tomorrow we got this nice card that's on DAZN. I think we're going to see some action. That Warrington-Lara fight, it should be some fireworks there, because I think Warrington is going to come and try to impose himself, and then Lara's going to be looking to stop him again. So, and of course the Granados and Ben fight should be something entertaining. And Katie Taylor is always looking to put her opponents at a disadvantage. So one thing about Katie Taylor, Reggie, is that I think she uses her head a lot, and she should, refrain from that. Outside of that, she can fight, but, stop using your head in there as a weapon. That's the third punch, So, but yeah, great show, man. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Catch you guys next week, and we'll be back tomorrow evening for a post-fight show after these fights have taken place. So peace to everybody out there. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy your holiday coming up. Peace.